is at second. Zach Story, the shortstop, is batting sixth. Houston Hirschkorn, the first baseman, bats seventh. Everett Johnson, the DH, is batting eighth. And Evan Gentile is batting ninth and catching. On the mound, Braden Woldridge. We'll get to him in just a second. First off, the Stanford Cardinals starting lineup. 17-12, 5-10, falling to 12th in the ACC standings after the sweep this past weekend. Trevor Haskins leads off and plays third. Timo Becerra, the shortstop, is batting second. Rintaro Sasaki, the first baseman, is back in the 3 spot. Jimmy Nadine moves up to cleanup, playing at second. Charlie Somm, the 5th place hitter, is catching. Tatum Marsh in right field is batting 6th. Luke Lavin, starting again as the DH, he's batting 7th. Ethan Hott, the center fielder, is batting 8th. And Court McDonald down to the 9 spot. He's playing left field.
Thank you, Carson. So Braden Woldridge will get the start opposite Dugan tonight. The left-hander, it's probably going to be a by-committee type of game for the Aggies, as a lot of midweek games are for a lot of teams, with UC Davis rejiggering their rotation during the prior weekend. And so we had some normal relievers in their normal Tuesday starter. Ned Frucci made the Game 2 start against Santa Barbara, so obviously he's unavailable to pitch today. So they've had to reconfigure things on the staff. So it is Woldridge, who has been the Aggies' best hitter this season, that will be the pitcher to open up this Monday game. Woldridge delivers to Trevor Haskins. And there's ball 1. Outstanding year for Haskins, 328, 9 home runs, and 29 driven in.
Yeah, Haskins got off to a bit of a lukewarm start in conference play, but he's come alive late. Looking back at Haskins' past couple of weekends, 5 hits in the series at Virginia, and another 4, plus a walk and a couple of sac flies against Georgia Tech.
And the offense for Stanford, I know it had its ups and downs, and last couple games it only managed 5 runs total, but for the most part that has not been the major issue for the team this year. That's cued foul. Woldridge, his numbers, this is his 5th appearance of the year, but it's his first start. A guy that's pitched in a lot of high leverage spots throughout his career in an Aggie uniform. Still has not allowed a run. In fact, only allowed 2 hits in 9 innings. That's in the dirt, 2-2. Haskins, 6'1" senior out of San Jose. Looking to set the table as he's done many times this year. And he got off a good hack, fouls it high off the first base side, and it's going to get out of play for Hirschkorn.
Yeah, Haskins, not your prototypical leadoff hitter. Doesn't run all that much. Typically sets the tone through the quality of his at-bats, which is, something you would expect, but he has a lot of power. Team leading 9 home runs so far, and always capable of yanking one over the left field wall.
Stays alive here, and the count holds 2-2. So the Aggies defensively got to look how they were positioned. It's Murphy, Wolbert, Howard from left to right in the outfield. Williams at third, Story at short, Lee at second, Hirschkorn at first. And Evan Gentile, the freshman, is catching Woldridge. And there's a drive into the gap, right center field, and nobody is there for the Aggies. And Haskins is headed for second, who'll put on the brakes there, and it's a leadoff double.
Early gap-to-gap power from the Cardinal. That's something that through their past handful of games has lacked a little bit. And a very welcome reprieve with Haskins just going the other way, staying on his backside and taking exactly what Woldridge was giving him.
So Haskins aboard, and he'll bring up Becerra. That split the outfielders perfectly. And a good start for Stanford here on this Monday night at Klein Field. So here's Timo Becerra. Aggies are going to shift the infield a few steps towards third. And the count 1 ball and no strikes.
Stanford loved this matchup early. Ahead in the count, Becerra hits lefties very well.
1 ball and 1 strike, gets a backdoor breaking ball there. Yeah, Becerra comes in with a .375 average. And they got a chance, but just late at second. Wooldridge with a quick spin, but Haskins able to climb back in.
Yeah, that was very close. Tommy Nicholson not interested in challenging the call.
Becerra has hit safely in 25 of 29 games this year. That is grounded towards the hole. Sliding stop, Ryan Lee to Wooldridge, who gets there in time. Oh, Ryan Lee does not have a lot of experience playing second base for UC Davis, but good hustle there from both him and Wooldridge, who is an outfielder as well, and he needed some of that athleticism. It is a productive out. Haskins advances to third. This is a terrific play, though, just to keep Becerra off the base pass, and he was out by a step. Looks like the Cardinal this time are not going to use a challenge. Well, that's a 4-1 putout, but it does advance Haskins to third, and now here is Rintaro Sasaki. And he looks at a breaking ball for strike one. So as Carson mentioned, Sasaki comes in at 287, 4 home runs, 25 driven in. Nice stop by Gentile. The Cardinal, of course, anxious. A lot of their fans anxious to see that just extreme raw power come to fruition, but obviously this guy's still so young. About half a season now of collegiate ball. And a good breaking ball gets the swing through 1 and 2.
And Sasaki has not taken too many swings like that this year. Despite his lack of experience hitting Division I pitching, he's adjusted very well, even though the power numbers have not been there recently.
That's to the backstop. And here comes Haskins, and it's 1-0 Cardinal. Well, as our fans know watching, if you let one get past you here at Sunken Diamond, that is usually all she wrote, and that is the case there. And Haskins with an easy score on a pitch in the dirt. Gentile blocked the first one, but that one he just let scoot by him, and Stanford able to draw first blood. And Sasaki swings and misses. So he threw him 3 breaking balls in the at-bat, got this strike one looking, and then back-to-back swing throughs. And Sasaki gone. So obviously for the Aggies, a team that is the underdog significantly in a game like tonight, those hurt, those self-inflicted wounds. As here's Jimmy Nadai. Nadai most extra base hits on the team. 6 doubles, 7 home runs. And he launches it high and deep to left. Murphy looking up. 2-0 Stanford. That'll count for another extra base hit for Jimmy Nadai, who just demolished it into the trees beyond the left field wall. And his 8th home run gives Stanford a 2-0 lead.
And one thing that's been so impressive about Nadai entering this year is how he's taken his gap-to-gap pop from the previous season and turned it into some home run power. That's his 8th this year, and he's just been an anchor in the middle of this Cardinal lineup despite the rest of their struggles offensively.
Yeah, junior out of Sydney has been one of the most consistent hitters for the Cardinal this year. In fact, the last game against Georgia Tech, the 7-inning game, he did not reach base, which was only the 3rd time that's happened all season. So here's Charlie Somm. And that's ripped foul. It's one of the few midweek games Stanford has played this year due to, in large part, this ACC schedule. Psalm chases a breaking ball in the dirt. Gentile with a tag, and that will retire the side. But a couple hits, one a double, the other a home run. It's 2-0 Stanford after one. Greg Wong joined by Carson Trail here at Sunken Diamond. 2-0 Stanford. They score one run on a wild pitch, another on a home run by Jimmy Nadai, his 8th of the year. And we get going here in the second inning. It is just gorgeous. It's been gorgeous in the Bay Area all weekend. We got another great day. Got a few showers overnight, but other than that, it's just been some of the best weather we've had in some time as Corey Williams takes strike one from Nick Dugan. As fans know, in this time of day, with this weather, this ballpark looks so pristine.
And I think just about the only people that would disagree with you is whoever's playing left field. As the sun sets beyond the oak trees down the first base side, there are some moments where, if you're playing in left, you're looking right into the sun.
Yeah, for the fans. That's who I'm concerned about, Carson. The fans and the broadcasters, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Looks great, but yeah, for McDonald, he's having to battle the sun a little bit as the shadows continue to creep onto the field. Corey Williams is the hitter. Sky to right. This ball's got some ride. Marsh to the wall, and right by the 335 marker, he's there to put it away. So showing off a little bit of opposite field pop, Corey Williams, but Marsh able to flag it down.
Pretty good piece of contact there from Corey Williams.
And Williams, newcomer for the Aggies, trying to hit his first career home run, JUCO transfer, but just short of the foul pole. So here is Ryan Lee. And a nice start for Dugan, 4 up, 4 down. And this is just a brutal stretch for UC Davis. They had the 3 games against UC Santa Barbara, who was ranked earlier in the year. They were swept in an adventurous series down on the Central Coast. They got Stanford today, they won on Friday. Thank you, Carson. Don't want to shortchange them. They won a 1-0 game against UC Santa Barbara. Just it feels like that game was ages ago, as there's a check swing foul.
That was a heck of a pitcher's duel as well.
And that was a big win. Brian Green was just outstanding, the ace of the staff for the Aggies. But then they had 2 wild games after that, specifically the Saturday game, which the final score not quite indicative of. And they've got Stanford today. Lined center field, that ball sinking and in front of Hott for a base hit. So that's the first base runner of the night. For UC Davis, it's Ryan Lee with a single.
Excellent piece of 2-strike hitting by Ryan Lee. Fighting one off up in the zone and just hitting it right back up the box. Ethan Hott, plenty of range in center field, but too far in for him to make a play.
We've talked about how Stanford is trying to get the pitching back on track. Aggies are the opposite. Their pitching has kept them in games. They're just trying to get their bats working again and get some confidence going at the plate. Here's Zach Story, the freshman. So anyway, UC Davis, Stanford on the road tonight. Sac State at home tomorrow. And then a 2-day break. And then all they do is welcome maybe the best mid-major in the country, UC Irvine, in a top 25 team, to Dobbins over this 3-day weekend. So it is just a murderer's row for a mid-major school like UC Davis. And obviously, a competitive game, if they can keep it close against Stanford, do it a lot for their confidence. And it's a little low, 2-1.
And they have a chance to really capitalize against a Stanford team that has empathized with their struggles over the past few weeks. Both teams are coming in fairly cold, and somebody's going to get right tonight.
I mentioned Stanford. They have not played many midweek games this season, but they have been good to them. The couple times they have played it away from the weekend, they beat Santa Clara just under a week ago in 10 innings, 6-5. And then they knocked off San Jose State. If it wasn't for those wins, this stretch would be even longer for Stanford. That's in the dirt. Sam has no idea where it is, and Ryan Lee's going to take second base. So a full count on Zach Story.
Another look at that wild pitch. That came up and hit Sam right in the side of the helmet. Ricocheted away, and as a catcher, if it takes a weird bounce off of something, atypical instead of the chest protector or the glove, it's hard to get a read for where exactly the ball is. Fortunately, Lee did not try to go first to third.
Big chopper. Becerra waits for the high hop, takes his time, and Story out by a step. Nice throw. And Lee holds at second base. Well, those are tough, especially now that it's become pretty standard for catchers to be in that one knee down stance when they're receiving the ball. As you had to look at this nice throw by Becerra. Waited for the hop. And there are two down. And really on a ball like that, there's not much shot for Sam to keep it in front. But we'll see if Dugan can hold the line. Hirschkorn takes way outside. So Houston Hirschkorn is 6 for 24 to start his season and his career in an Aggie uniform. A lot of young players on this Aggie team. And we're probably going to see a lot of them tonight. That ball is called a strike. Chris Booker not making any friends in the Aggie dugout, who thought it was low. In and out, they can't tell over there down the third base line, but up and down, they have a pretty good angle at it. And now he chases 1 and 2. A lot of bodies have been rotated in and out at first base for the Aggies this season. Hirschkorn waves and misses at a pitch in the dirt, and Sam completes the strikeout, and that will retire the side. So Ryan Lee gets the Aggies' first base runner of the day, but he is left there at the end of it all. A strikeout ends the inning. Dugan gets out of it. We go to the bottom of the second. 2-0 Cardinal. Two nothing Cardinal as we head to the last of the second inning. Tatum Marshall lead it off for Stanford against UC Davis left-hander Braden Woldridge. A wild pitch and a home run. That's how the Cardinal got on the board in the last inning. There's strike one. Oh, 0-2, so Woldridge, that breaking ball, which is usually his best pitch, that has been what's getting him strikes so far.
Marsh, an especially difficult guy to get for a swinging strike 3. Let's see if the freshman can adjust.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Stanford run ruled for the 3rd time this season in their loss on Sunday. And those 18 runs, that was the most they've allowed in a game in about 2 years. They lost one to Arizona in 10 innings, 21-10, which was a baseball score, not a football score. And they already have 2 extra base hits tonight. They did not have one at all yesterday for only the second time all year. So having this quick turnaround, I think, for both teams is exactly what they needed. That was in the dirt, and it got him. And so Marsh will take his base. That got him on the foot. And it's something that I think Cardinal fans are accustomed to. That's now a dozen times he's been hit by a pitch, the freshman.
Coming back from a 2-strike count, too. One of the reasons that Tatum Marsh has been so impressive has been his ability to just never waste an at-bat. That time, taking advantage of the mistake, not jump roping out of the way, and a leadoff runner on.
Getting on base 48% of the time. That'll work. That is powered into deep left. Back to the wall goes Murphy, and that ball is gone. Luke Lavin with a 2-run homer. And it's 4-1 Stanford. So 4 unanswered put up by the Cardinal. 4-0 Stanford leads. And for Lavin, that's his first of the year. And he goes the opposite way and just put a lot of backspin on it to take it beyond the left field wall. And that's not just his first of this year. It's the first in his collegiate career.
Not a cheapie either. Opposite field power.
Lifted in the air to the second baseman, Ryan Lee, battling the sun, and he's able to stay with it. And that's the first out. So I think Stanford eager to get back on the diamond after yesterday. That is now 3 extra base hits, 2 home runs. 1 by Nati and then Luke Lavin. You said, Carson, it was an impressive swing of the bat. Pretty effortless swing to take it the opposite way. So Hott retired, and now here's Court McDonald. Well, Woodridge just has not been able to miss enough barrels here in the first couple innings. Again, we'll see what the Aggies' pitching plan is tonight. Woodridge, the expectation coming into this game, he would probably go 2 or 3 innings. And then we'll see if it's going to be more of 1 or 2 innings of relief, or the Aggies get somebody in that they want to pitch the bulk of the innings tonight with another game coming tomorrow. But I'm sure first things first, they'd love to get Woodridge at least out of the second. Cardinals scored just 5 runs the last 2 games. That just finds the zone. And already 4 in the first 2 innings against UC Davis. Right side for Ryan Lee, stays with a hop. And there are 2 down.
Nice job by Wooldridge getting back into this count. McDonald, a little bit of a slow start since returning from an injury. And even despite the early hitters counts, Wooldridge able to recover and get an easy put out.
So 2 down, back to the top of the order. Here's Haskins. Haskins doubled to start the Cardinal first inning and came around to score on the wild pitch. Not too much wind tonight. Just a slight breeze going from right to left so far. For Lavin, it's his 7th hit of the year. And the 4th extra base hit of his career, limited time a season ago. And that breaking ball backdoors him 2-2. Lavin got into 2 of the games against Georgia Tech. Went 2 for 3 yesterday in that lopsided loss. Here comes the payoff. Into right. And Howard able to flag it down after maybe a little wind. The sun, lights, everything all combining. Dusk, all contributing to that becoming an adventurous out. But Tyler Howard able to put it away. However, Stanford with another home run. This time Luke Lavin, first of his career. The sophomore from Laguna Beach makes it 4-0 Stanford after 2. Everett Johnson leads it off for the Aggies, who find themselves at a 4-0 hole after 2 innings. We start playing the top of the 3rd. Nick Dugan back to work, and he's looked good so far. With Carson Trail, I'm Greg Wong on the ACC Network. Plus, Everett Johnson takes strike 1. This is the 5th home game in 7 days for the Cardinal. And not a lot of reprieve after this, because it's going to be a long travel week as they head down south and take on the number 4 team in the nation, Clemson.
And Clemson, notorious for their rocky road atmosphere. They are one of the toughest places to play for any school.
And they're having an outstanding campaign. I think for Stanford, they know they can compete with anybody, but they just have not been able to get over those final few humps during this long losing streak here in their first year in the ACC. Everett Johnson, the DH, waves and misses at another off-speed pitch in the dirt, and that completes the strikeout. And that was the 4th strikeout for Dugan so far tonight.
And another off-balance swing at the bottom of the zone. Part of the reason why Dugan feels so confident going down there with 2 strikes is because of his catcher. Charlie saw him first here as a starter, has been an anchor behind home plate.
Into center, and chased down just shy of the track by Hott, and they're 2 down.
That might be the best piece of contact today for the Aggies. Got something down in the zone, really hunting that fastball. And he drilled it. Just not high enough to get up into the jet stream, and Hott able to flag it down.
Evan Gentile, another freshman the Aggies are high on, who's gotten more and more playing time behind the plate this season. He is a 1-pitch out. Now here's Jackson Murphy. And he swings first pitch on a line. Nice dig by Nadai at second. Made it look easy. And that will retire the side. It's a quick inning. 1, 2, 3 again. Aggies still with just 1 base runner so far, as Nick Dugan has been rolling through 2.5, still 4-0 Cardinal. A new pitcher for UC Davis. It's the right-hander Tyler Wood, who was a starter most of his career, the sophomore, but now is coming out of the bullpen. He pitched briefly on Sunday, less than 10 pitches. Again, this Aggie team, they're reworking the rotation a bit, so Wood is a guy that I'm assuming can give them a little length out of the bullpen. Sophomore out of Danville will take over, and Timo Becerra leads off for the Cardinal, who have 4 runs, 3 of which scored on a couple home runs. So Braden Woldridge, he goes just the 2 innings today.
Yeah, rest of his line, 4 earned runs, a couple of strikeouts, 3 hits, 3 extra base hits. All extra bases allowed by Woldridge.
Nadai and Lavin, each with home runs, each to left field. So Wood, the starter for the Aggies, he's a guy that's a sophomore officially, but he's 3 years removed from high school because he took a gap year to go to the East Coast. Now, a lot of college kids do take gap years, but his was a little different. He pitched at a pitching academy in Virginia, and that increased his velo to around the high 80s, low 90s. And now he's in his 2nd season as an Aggie. And he's a guy that really opened up eyes last season because they never envisioned he would make a play for the rotation. And then he just kept on getting outs, and he found himself in the Sunday role. So coming out of the bullpen for one of the first times in his career, and only the second time this season. And he faces Timo Becerra, and then Sasaki and Nadai. And he's right, he'll get a lot of ground balls, sinker, slider mainly. And another guy that the Aggie coaches have said that they think his velo can continue to go up and up. So a 3-2 count on Becerra. Just missed, and Wood can't believe it. And that's a leadoff walk to start the third. Becerra is back on base. And here's Sasaki.
Becerra's got some average speed over there. Stanford have not done a lot of running as a team, but a couple of steals for Becerra on his season. Let's see if they put something on to stay out of the double play.
Well, as always, even this deep into the year, you see all the phones come out when Sasaki takes his at-bats. He struck out on a couple breaking balls his first time up. And he tops that one foul. Carson, you were telling me between innings, you were loving the Players' Weekend feast that Rintaro Sasaki was at least a part of in choosing what the specialty dishes were that you could get at the concessions here over the weekend.
No, his addition to that specialized menu from this past weekend was a chicken katsudon, and that was delicious.
That's good stuff. You said, I don't want to betray your confidence, but you said it's one of the best meals you've had.
At a ballpark?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other honorable mentions, Joey Volchko's walking taco. Scott's Tots, Matt Scott with his featured dish.
It's an office reference. Big chopper right side. That's one, and the return to first in time for the double play. Slow developing, but Lee just able to get it to second in time. Story with a quick throw to first. And Sasaki is out for the second time, and they're 2 down. Sinker baller, Tyler Wood, doing what sinker ballers do. Here's Nadai. It's a good promotion, though. Good little, I don't know if promotion is the right word, but just
I'd say so.
Something fun for the players to be involved with, the fans to interact with, and now I wish I got a sign this weekend to call games here. Could cut some katsudon right now.
Jimmy Nadai, he's up right now. He also had a featured dish. Nadai's nachos. Carne asada nachos.
That's good, yeah. I don't think that's not Australian, is it?
I don't imagine that it is.
Yeah.
If you go to most Commonwealth countries and you ask for nachos, they give you a bunch of tortilla chips with nothing on it.
Moved to Atlanta in 2010. But from the land down under, as everybody knows, once he comes to the plate, his walk-up song. Well, thanks for saving me some, by the way, Carson. I thought you were going to... We knew we were doing the game tonight. I thought you might...
About that.
Yeah. Next time, it's our first game together. I thought maybe welcome gift. 2-2.
Well, one of the writers actually got it for me. I was busy doing the game on Friday night.
Well, I guess it helps if you know people here. Yeah. Nadai's 8th home run. Back in the first inning. And that breaking ball misses. I wish that was part of, they had in the major league level, they did a players weekend a couple years ago. I wish that was part of the the tradition back then.
Yeah, specialized dishes. I'm sure that those would be major hits if you go to some major league ballparks.
Yeah. Struck him out. And a nice inning for Tyler Wood after the leadoff walk where he thought he had a strike 3 against Becerra. He gets the double play, and then Nanai out on the slider. We go to the 4th, still 4-0 Cardinal. Four nothing Cardinal on a couple home runs. They were held off the scoreboard in an inning for the first time in the bottom of the 3rd. We go to the 4th. Nick Dugan's been outstanding for the Cardinal, just the one base runner on the base hit to Ryan Lee in the 2nd. He's retired everybody else. And now to give you the play-by-play for the middle 3 innings, here is Carson Trail.
Thanks, Greg. Tyler Howard starts things off, going against Nick Dugan out there for his 4th inning of work. Howard struck out back in the 1st inning. 1 hit total for the Aggies through the first 3. First pitch down and away, ball 1. Some louder contact coming toward the latter half of the 3rd. A line out to center, and then Jackson Murphy, a hard ground ball to second base. That wrapped up the frame. A ball into strike on the big curveball. Howard in the 2 spot, coming off a quiet weekend against Santa Barbara. Here he flies one in the air to right. Marsh comes in toward the line. 1 away.
Yeah, Howard's been one of the key igniters for the Aggie offense when it's been able to get something going. He might be the fastest player on the team, and he's had a nice sophomore campaign so far, but that's just the way it's been going for UC Davis. They just have not been able to generate much with the bats, and that's still the case early tonight. Obviously, some of their stiffest competition of the season.
Here's Mark Wolbert now. He takes right at the bottom of the zone.
It's been a big strike zone tonight.
This umpiring crew sticking around after calling the weekend series for Stanford against Georgia Tech. Swing and a miss.
Yeah, Aggie's just not picking up that breaking ball low, and that's exactly where Dugan wants to live, as you mentioned, Carson. And getting a lot of swing throughs there on those pitches below the knees.
That time Wolbert lays off. 1 gone here in the 4th. This is as deep as Dugan's gone into any outing this year. The only time he's gone 4 innings was against San Jose State a couple of weeks ago. That one misses inside, tried the curveball, and that evens the count to the Aggie center fielder. Wolbert, a guy, former freshman All-American, the first in program history, and the 2-2. Bounce to the left side. Haskins, off his back foot, throws him out. Two gone here in the 4th.
Yeah, left side of the Stanford infield tonight, they've been pretty spotless. Actually, you can say that for the entire infield. Nade with a nice pick at the last inning, and left half, they've been right on target with the throws.
Corey Williams digs in for his 2nd time. He flied out back in the 2nd.
The Aggies, for the most part, have been okay at putting the ball in play this season, but have not gotten a lot of help, and you wouldn't expect to tonight either.
2 balls and no strikes on Williams. One of the few times today that Dugan has found himself behind in the count. Williams back in the right-handed box, as you can see. Grew up just south of Sacramento in Elk Grove. Elk Grove High School, his alma mater. Handful of major leaguers have come out of that program, especially recently.
Yeah, Elk Grove High has become a real hotbed for talent. You think of Guys like Dylan Carlson, Rowdy Tellez, who was just here with the Mariners. It is pretty remarkable that the small suburb outside of Sacramento has produced some big-time talent. J.D. Davis, just so many major leaguers that has passed through specifically that program.
And Williams reaches ball 4.
Yeah, Dugan, you mentioned he had been throwing strikes prior to this at bat. Really the first time he's had any control issues. I don't remember any, if all, 3-ball counts tonight. And, coming into that at bat, he had only thrown 14 balls on the night in 44 pitches.
Now he faces the guy with the only hit of the game against him, Ryan Lee. Reached second base after a wild pitch, but did not score. And he fouls the first pitch into the glove of Charlie Somm, strike 1. Big hole in the right side with Nadi shaded toward the middle. Dugan checks on Williams, no dice. Ryan Lee, also a local guy, coming out of St. Francis High School down the road. Grew up in Sunnyvale, went to high school in Mountain View. That misses low, a ball into strike.
Yeah, he's a good story. He did not play much when he first got to school, but just kept on working and eventually just hit his way into everyday playing time a year ago. And he's got some pretty good power, especially gap to gap.
And he drills that one deep to right field. Marsh back in front of the track makes the catch. So some power on display there from Ryan Lee, but it doesn't carry quite far enough, and that strains the 2-out base runner. A walk to Corey Williams, and that's all. We're through 3.5 at Sunken Diamond, 4-0 Stanford. Last half of the 4th inning here at Sunken Diamond. Tyler Wood back to the mound facing 5, 6, 7, Somm, Marsh, and Luke Lavin. Charlie Somm, the catcher, starts things off. He struck out, one of 2 recorded by Braden Wooldridge, before he was pulled after 2 innings and 4 earned runs allowed. Somm, a guy with some power, he strides in. 4 home runs on the season, entered this game batting just over 250. Somm, a Southern California native, in his first year as the full-time starting catcher. And he watches one off the plate, ball 1. Stanford's catching hierarchy over the past few years has been pretty set in stone. Torch passed easily from Cody Huff, veteran now with, I believe, the Cleveland Guardians organization, to Malcolm Moore, first-round draft pick by the Rangers. And Somm, who was a highly recruited prospect out of high school, didn't really see a lot of playing time full-time until this season. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And Somm's taken advantage of his opportunities this year. Such an asset defensively, and he's been doing some with the bat as well. Already talked about his 4 home runs, but they've come at pretty opportune times for the Cardinal. That one's hit high out toward deep left center. Wolbert ranges over. The wind behind it. He flags it down edge of the track.
It's similar to Cardinal fans. He gives this one a pretty good jolt, that Wolbert very casually able to put it away. Puts the glove up in the last second like he's a wide receiver. But on the softball side, the Cardinal also have a similar situation where they had a long-time catcher, and Ali Kaneshiro, who did a lot of the catching for a long time. And
Tatum Marsh flies this one in the air to shallow center field. Second time for Wolbert, he makes the catch, 2 gone.
And now this year, Allie Clements has come on, another player that's really waited her turn, and parallels there with kind of Charlie Somm's career. And now they both capitalize on their opportunities to get everyday playing time.
Here's the guy who might be in the crouch next year. Luke Lavin, a 2-run home run, first of his collegiate career, coming back in the second. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, and 2 homers for the Cardinal. Tyler Wood out of the stretch. Catches the outside corner with the breaking ball. Lavin DH'd in Game 3 against Georgia Tech, went 2 for 3. He fouls this one off. Got a hanging slider, and it ricochets off a chair and kicks back toward the backstop. Lavin's a guy who's always had a great feel for the strike zone, but if he can pair that with some more sustained power, he's going to get plenty more at-bats this year. Easy take there. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Bit of an overthrow there from Wood. You saw the reaction afterwards. I think he was trying to hump up on his fastball and got away from him a little bit.
That one's hit high out to shallow center. Lee backpedals from second, and he makes the catch. 3 fly ball outs, retires the side. Nice, quick, and easy inning for Tyler Wood. He set down the last 5 he's faced. As we go to the top of the 5th, Stanford 4, UC Davis nothing. Top of the 5th here at Sunken Diamond. I'm Carson Trail with Greg Wong on ACC Network Extra. It's Story, Hirschkorn, and Johnson. Zach Story, the UC Davis shortstop, steps in for the second time against Dugan, who's now pitched as deep into an outing as he's done all season. Through 4 shutout innings, matching a long for this year. Out of the windup, here's the right-hander. And that misses up and in. Stanford really desperate for some length from their starting pitching. Dugan has given that to them, relatively speaking, over the past couple of outings, although last outing against Santa Clara, that one's ripped to left field. Long run for McDonald. It's over his head. Up against the wall. Here comes Story to second base. He stops there, and some loud contact begins the 5th, a leadoff double.
Yeah, Zach Story, a nice-looking freshman. The starting shortstop for the Aggies, Joey Wright, who's a junior and an excellent defensive player, has been out with an injury the past few weeks, and you saw McDonald just could not stretch to get a hold of that one.
Yeah, McDonald returned fairly recently from a lower body injury, so it's probably still working up there as the pitch is low to Houston Hirschkorn.
Well, nobody warming up in the Stanford bullpen, and he's been very economical. If you go by the usual standards of 15 pitches an inning is right around where you want to be. And like you said, I think they want to get some length out of Dugan, also want to build his confidence. That's the hardest hit ball of the night. There just have not been many bullets like that against Dugan.
UC Davis a chance to get on the board after getting the leadoff man on for the first time. Here's a ground ball under the glove of Sasaki into right field. Here comes Story around third. The throw to the plate is in time.
I think the Aggies might want to look at this.
Story can't believe it, gestures immediately to Tommy Nicholson asking for a review. Tatum Marsh in right field made a perfect throw, and Charlie saw him straddling the baseline, put the tag down. Let's take a look. That one scooted right under Sasaki. Marsh playing shallow, snapped the throw home, and saw him sort of, if you saw that angle, had that one kind of in the palm of his hand almost before putting the tag down. Dugan trying to stay loose while the umpiring crew takes a look.
Yeah, I mean, the ball clearly beat him, and that's one before replay. That's usually going to get called as an out, as it was there. The question is just whether, obviously, Story got his foot in before the tag actually was brought down, because the throw was beautiful. It beat him by plenty. But Story was able to get that slide in, and it's Guy Valenzuela, who has coached a lot of first base for UC Davis, the former Cardinal coach. And we're going to get another angle here.
That angle, it's tough to tell. The call on the field is that's an out.
That was a good angle right there, because it looked like he missed the tag on his front foot and had to try to tag the back leg. This is the angle. And this makes it seem like he might have been safe. That he got the front foot down to the plate before the tag, because the tag, if anything, I'm not even sure when it gets him. It's tough to tell when the tag actually is applied, if it is at all. So we'll see if they have a conclusive angle, though. That's an aggressive send, though, by Guy Valenzuela, who, like I said, the former Cardinal assistant who came over with Tommy Nicholson to Davis. He has not coached much third base throughout his tenure at UC Davis. It's mainly their hitting coach, Andrew Ayers, who is in the dugout tonight. And so, our umpiring crew, they're getting a nice tight angle of it there. Got to be on the Aggie dugout.
Haven't seen a lot of calls overturned at Sunken Diamond, but over the weekend against Georgia Tech, there were a handful. So
it was an error, by the way, charged to Sasaki.
Yes.
But if I were to guess, I'd say I think he's safe, but the call on the field was out, so I don't know if they have enough to overturn it.
Well, let's see. Yes, the call stands.
Yeah, that's the word we got here in the press box, that it was not confirmed, it was stand, so that means they didn't have a good angle to overturn it conclusively.
So Hirschkorn at first, one gone. Tatum Marsh with the outfield assist to keep the shutout intact. Now Everett Johnson. Big hole in the right side behind Dugan. And a chopper to third. Haskins backhands, off balance throw, got him! What a play on both ends. Off balance in foul ground. Take a look at this. So many of those choppers here at Sunken Diamond get through for hits, and Sasaki with the in-between hop pick. On the play, Hirschkorn advances to scoring position, but two gone.
And that left half of the diamond tonight, they are showing off their arms for Stanford.
First year playing at third base full time for Haskins, but you wouldn't know it based off that play. Here he ranges to his left. Much easier to put out there for Haskins. Couple of great defensive plays for the Cardinal. Leadoff double, but the Aggies do not score. Halfway done here at the Sunken Diamond. 4-0, Stanford still ahead. Ethan Hott started things off for the Cardinal here in the bottom half of the fifth inning. A double, an E3 ending in an outfield assist, and a couple of nice defensive plays from Trevor Haskins kept the shutout going. Here's Hott ahead in the count, 1 ball and no strikes.
I should also mention, a throw by Tatum Marsh was right there for Stanford in the last inning. We should give a lot of credit to Marsh for just a beauty of a throw from right field.
There's a ground ball and a diving stop by Williams. Hott can run, and he runs right in to Hirschkorn. The out is still recorded, says first base umpire Mike Mazza. And let's see. There's a diving play and a high throw. And fortunately, that one didn't turn out worse for either party.
Well, ironically, of course, that's why the green base is there, to avoid collisions like that. But in that situation, the throw took Hirschkorn in to the green base. So that's why I think that was allowed. But those are the collisions it was the green base is trying to prevent, but not much you could do about that.
There's a shot to right field. Sinking Howard comes in to make the catch. Couple of loud pieces of contact, but 2 gone for Tyler Wood and the Aggies. So Wood so far has not allowed a hit. He's allowed one walk that was erased immediately on a double play. But now, faces the ninth man of his outing, Trevor Haskins, who doubled and scored a run.
Pretty good defense on display here the last couple innings. And I also give credit to Sasaki for not letting that ball that got through him. It looks like we're going to have a timeout here by the Cardinal. But he came back next play, made a nice pick on that long throw across the diamond. So it looks like David Esker wants to talk it over in this at-bat with Trevor Haskins, doing a little bat inspection too.
Looks like they were looking at the very end of his bat. There have been a couple of broken bats for the Cardinal this year, and Haskins had one of them.
I think that's what this might be. I think he might have chipped it. It's not a torpedo bat, right?
Oh, I should hope not. That would be disastrous. So in this case, it's just a little extra adhesive. No need for a new bat. Haskins broke one of them already this year. And right as he got a new one, that's when he started his stretch, a torrid stretch of 5 homers in 5 games. So that time, no need for a replacement there. Today, he's 1 for 2. In addition to that double back in the first, he has flied out.
Again, the batter, third baseman, Trevor Haskins.
Haskins, 4 hits against Georgia Tech, 5 hits against Virginia. Here he shoots one to left field. Murphy coming over, and he makes the catch. So a very quick inning for Tyler Wood, despite a hard ground ball and 2 lineouts, but he'll certainly take it. As we go to the 6th inning here at Sunken Diamond, Stanford 4, UC Davis nothing. First pitching change for the Cardinal. Stanford brings in Trevor Moore, the right-hander, who is one of the top relievers on the summer ball circuit, transitioning into a bigger role here for the Cardinal on this season. Lately, the results haven't been exactly what he's been going for, as ERA has gone up a little bit in recent outings. 5.59, a 150 whip, and he's thrown 19 1/3 innings with 23 strikeouts, but 10 walks and 12 earned runs allowed. So hoping to get things sorted against the top of the order. Jackson Murphy, Tyler Howard, and Mark Wolbert for the Aggies trying to get on the board. And with that, let's talk about Nick Dugan in his final line.
Yeah, I know the Aggies are excited just to see somebody not named Nick Dugan, who, as Cardinal fans know, he's got some terrific stuff. And today was really taking command of that knee-high location. 5 shutout innings, just 2 hits allowed, a walk, 4 strikeouts. And a lot of the balls came late. 58 pitches, 37 strikes. He knocked off about 4 runs from his ERA, which is always a successful work day when you can do something like that.
Yeah, Dugan had been snake bitten in his recent outings, including a short performance against Santa Clara. So nice for him to straighten things out as Trevor Moore misses high. Jackson Murphy, the hitter, 0 for 2 so far today. He's struck out and he's bounced out. Not bounce out, though, to the second baseman, Nada. Just a low line drive that he was able to pick out. And he smashed another one. Nada on a dive has it, and he throws him out at first.
Well, I just took a peek into the UC Davis dugout after that play, and they had a lot of hands on heads because that is just outstanding. Nada knew he didn't have time to get fully up, so he kind of just hopped up from the ground to get enough steam on the throw.
That keeps the leadoff man off base. Now it's Tyler Howard. Big curveball drops in.
And this is good a defensive performance as you can have. Cardinal from second, third, and short. Spotless.
There's a swinging strike, and it's 0-2 on Howard. Stanford creating their own luck. That's part of what's gone wrong for them over the course of this tough stretch. 9 straight conference losses. Only 2 wins in that time span against non-conference opponents midweek.
And for a team like UC Davis struggling on offense, it seems like that's what happened. And Jackson Murphy, a guy that usually hits the ball hard just like that, but just no luck.
Swing and a miss. Fastball right by him. Trevor Moore picks up his first strikeout, and there are 2 gone here in the 6th. So now here's Mark Wolbert. He has grounded out twice this game. Stanford have been held hitless since the 2nd inning. All 3 hits, though, have been for extra bases, including 2 homers. That one to the backstop, 1-0. Stanford and Davis, different schedules but similar results. 3 consecutive conference series losses for either side. Stanford just coming off a sweep at home at the hands of Georgia Tech. 1-1 the count now after the curveball. UC Davis won a pitching duel on Friday night but have dropped back-to-back games. They play Sacramento State at home tomorrow night. That one down and away. One of the few times the infield has played straight up against the left-handed batter all season. That one's grounded off of Moore. It kicks far enough away. Becerra makes the throw, but it's much too late.
I mean, you can imagine why Timo Becerra still went through with the throw. I think he just wanted to show off the arm one more time. He didn't have a shot, but hopefully Moore's okay too. It looks like he is. I think they got a lot of his glove. But you're just expecting everything that stays on the infield, the Cardinal infielders, to convert on. And finally, a break goes the Aggies' way tonight.
Here's Corey Williams. Nick Dugan's only walk on the day. Trevor Moore in now for his first inning of work with the 2-out base runner. 6 hits total in this game. Snap throw to first, and it's low. And Wolbert back in time anyways. Sunken Diamond starting to cool off as the sun is setting. This ballpark plays a little bit bigger when the temperature goes down, even with the wind picked up out toward center. Wolbert has some speed at first. There's a ground ball to the right side. Nada again knocks it down, keeps it close, but that doesn't stop Wolbert from going first to third.
Well, even the Aggies' hits are somehow getting the gloves on the Cardinal. And I thought Nade was going to make that play. He got a great jump, just could not scoop it up. And Aggies have been able to set the table here in their recent games. It's with runners on that things have really been tough. But this is the guy, I think, tonight, as we're going to get a visit to the mound, I think this is who they want up there. Ryan Lee has taken the best at-bats of the night for UC Davis.
And let's see how short the leash is for Trevor Moore. Not a lot of hard contact against him. 3 ground balls, in fact. But a 2-out rally for the Aggies. 1 more base runner, they can bring up the possible tying run.
Yeah, there is somebody just doing some light tossing in the Cardinal bullpen, but it looks like Thomas Eager is just giving a pep talk for the moment. And Ryan Lee, for the Aggies, he had the base hit, and then he had the rocket that nearly he pumped out the opposite way in a deep right, but Marsh was able to track it down. And there you can see.
Looks like Ryan Speciak getting his arm loose.
Yeah, they're throwing a football, so it does not look like he is imminently coming in. Unless, I don't know, that could be a new warm-up technique. When you're trying to get your arm
I don't
loose.
think that's uncommon.
Yeah.
It's just not in fire drill mode, at least not yet.
I wouldn't say the football tossing is when you're coming into the game at the next second, so. But I could be wrong.
There have been times where things have fallen much quicker out of favor. Here's Lee against Moore. He cues one off the end of the bat, no balls and 1 strike. Wolbert at third, Williams at first, couple of 2-out singles. That second one by Williams barely left the infield, diving effort by Jimmy Nadai. Now the 0-1. Above the belt, that evens the count.
Maybe outside also. See how much he tosses in that curveball. He's been able to steal a few strikes with it. Doesn't look like the Aggies have been sitting on it.
That one fouled off to the right.
I think that's the one Ryan Lee wants to have back. And that was almost center cut, that fastball. But he was late on it.
Might have been trying to shorten up and go the other way. Sasaki on the bag at first. Nadai pulled toward the middle. Big hold on the right side. Moore's 1-2. Reach for and bounce foul.
Ryan Lee's a guy that I think has some of the best barrel rate on the Aggies. He has, however, been susceptible to breaking balls low in the zone and beneath it. And he's been susceptible to chasing those pitches. We'll see if that's what Moore goes to.
Changes eye levels with the fastball. That evens the count. Aggies trying to get on the board here in the 6th. They have now out-hit the Cardinal. 3 of those 4 hits have been singles. And another foul.
I think you saw him. He wanted that pitch maybe even in the dirt. He was patting the ground, that breaking ball. As he said, they were trying to change eye level. That fastball up above the belt set up that last pitch.
Got him! And Trevor Moore shuts down the 2-out rally. A long at bat by Ryan Lee, but Stanford escapes the 6th inning unscathed. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Cardinals still up 4 when we come back on ACC Network Extra. Through 5.5 here at the sunny confines on a beautiful evening here on the farm. Breeze still blowing steadily out toward center, but other than that, a very mild evening. And Stanford's offense mild after a couple of innings in which they scored 2 apiece. A wild pitch got things started after a Haskins double, a Nadai solo shot, and then Luke Lavin with his first collegiate home run tacked on 2 more. Timo Becerra, the hitter, facing Tyler Wood. A ball, no strikes the count. Here's a foul off. Becerra 0 for 1 officially on a 4-1 putout. A little bit unusual in the box score, but a ground ball to the right side, and Hirschkorn coming off the bag. Play ended up being made by the pitcher, Wooldridge. Here he pops one up. Hirschkorn tracking it, and it drops just out of his reach. That one right up against the padded wall. Now the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes on the Cardinal shortstop. Last year, Becerra, Stanford's full-time third baseman. A lot of open competition ahead of the start of the season. Becerra moving over toward his native shortstop. That's where he played most of the summer. That one just missed. Wood thought he had it. Timo Becerra, much like many of the Cardinal rising juniors or seniors, played in the Cape Cod Baseball League over summer. Here he buckles at a low ball, but he misses low. Does Wood, rather. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Becerra so far has been the only man to reach against Wood. And the payoff. Just misses ball 4. Wood doesn't like it. But Becerra reaches, and that starts off the bottom of the 6th.
This could be a big outing for Wood, who has struggled coming into this game. It's part of the reason why they've, I think, trying to giving him a little softer landing spots when he's come into games. He was the Sunday starter for the Aggies until just this past weekend. So, pretty good results so far, but obviously now, here in what might be his last inning, not the way he wanted to start.
Talking about soft landing spots, a lot of these midweek opponents, not quite the same caliber as in conference, but here you face Rentaro Sasaki, a preseason freshman of the year.
Yeah, soft landing spot, I should say, in terms of when you're going in terms of the game score and the inning, because going up against the Cardinal lineup, that is not exactly your easiest opponent, especially for the Aggie schedule.
Sasaki 0 for 2 today. He has struck out, and he's grounded into a double play. Here he smashes one into the shift. Sliding stop Lee. There's one. There's two. Double play.
That's a really nice turn by Ryan Lee on that second hop. That had some English on it. And again, he's been primarily a third baseman, Ryan Lee, and catcher throughout his career. So not a guy that's played a lot of middle infield. And that was really a nifty turn.
Some loud contact, but some silent offense from the Cardinal. They haven't had a hit since the Luke Lavin 2-run shot back in the 2nd. Tyler Wood, who entered the game in the 3rd, has walked Becerra twice, but other than that, his line has been flawless. Jimmy Nadai, the hitter, he hit a solo shot back in the 1st. Here he hits one softly foul at third base, and it's 0-2.
Well, if there's one guy that's not going to be phased by some of the caliber of opponents that he's facing, it's a guy like Tyler Wood, who has been around a lot of big leaguers throughout his career. He is the son of the head groundskeeper at the Coliseum in Oakland. So until this year, he was the guy in charge of making sure the A's have a good field to play on. And so Wood has been around a lot of baseball throughout his life.
Nadai, the direct opposite. He came over to the United States at about age 10. Has not been around baseball nearly in the same way. A lot of the times, baseball players growing up in the United States are choosing between baseball, football, as Nadai flies one into center field. Wolbert comes in, he races in, he dives, and he got it. Wolbert robs Nadai of a hit, and that's how the 6th inning draws to conclusion. Stanford, 4 runs, 3 hits, an error. UC Davis, no runs, 4 hits, no errors. Aggies coming up against Trevor Moore out there for his 2nd inning of work when we come back on ACC Network Extra. 4-0 Stanford leading UC Davis as we enter the final third of this game. And with that, let's pass things over to Greg Wong on the play-by-play.
Thanks, Carson. Great work by you. And now it's Zach Story that's going to try to ignite things for the Aggies against Stanford pitching that has done the job so far, which has been a welcome sign for the Cardinal. They get the low strike there. So Trevor Moore back to work. And he'll face Story, Hirschkorn, and Johnson. 6, 7, 8 in the Aggie lineup. And he comes back over the inside corner for strike 2. So the zone has kind of moved around tonight. And it opened up here, and Story down to the count. Back to Moore on one big hop. And there's the first out. Moore from Golden, Colorado. Of course, most well known for being the home of Coors. Were you where, Carson? Coors Light.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, Coors Beer. You're of age, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Though at times it may not sound like it.
I'm of age too, just to be clear. Houston Hirschkorn, the batter. And you were telling me during the break he had a great Summer Collegiate League year a season ago when he was in the Cape Cod League, which is the cream of the crop of Summer Collegiate Leagues.
Yeah, Moore was just dominant on the summer circuit, throwing right to his battery mate, Charlie Somm, as well.
Missed with a curveball there. Yeah, he's got a couple runners aboard in the last inning, but stranded them both there.
Good time to mention that the only runs Moore allowed in 14 2/3 innings were inherited over the summer. This year's ERA not quite as dominant.
Well, it's tough to do better than that. 6'1" junior. But as Carson said last inning, not a lot of hard hit contact against him, maybe with the exception of the Wohlberg single up the middle. 2-2. Hirschkorn reached on an error his last time. That was the ball guy went and nutmegged Sasaki at first, went into right field, but Tatum Marsh threw a dart to the plate, and Zach Story was thrown out, and the Yankees still have not scored a run yet. That was their best chance. Hirschkorn swings and misses. And quickly there are two down. And the batter is Everett Johnson. I mean, these are still important at-bats this stretch for the Aggies. Santa Barbara, Stanford, Sac State, and then UC Irvine coming up this weekend. Those are 3 out of those 4 schools have at least been in the top 25 at some point this season. And for guys like Everett Johnson that don't have a lot of time at this level, and all the hitters in this inning, Story and Hirschkorn as well, these are big moments for them. Aggies, they have actually out-hit Stanford tonight. As Carson said, the Stanford offense has gone dormant since the early innings. Out-hitting them 4-3, but the 3 hits are a double and 2 home runs. Aggies 3 singles and a double. That again, it gets the low strike. So ball and 2 strikes on the DH Everett Johnson, robbed of a hit his last time. He's not the only one on the Aggies. On an outstanding play by Haskins at third. That long throw to first. That Sasaki handled nicely. Two and two. And Somm did not hang on to that one, just went to the screen. Yeah, trial by fire this season for a lot of these young Aggies, especially in tonight's lineup. Bottom 4 in the lineup, all in their first years in an Aggie uniform. Full count. It's a nice battle here by Everett Johnson.
Yeah, keeping this inning alive, keeping the line moving. If Johnson can get things to Gentile, even if he goes down, that would set up the top of the order to start things off in the 8th.
Not close. And the walk. So a 2-out base runner. That is, I'm glad I didn't say it ahead of time. In danger of getting some glares by Stanford fans, but that's something the Cardinals have not done very much tonight, is lose command of the zone like that. And they've been right around the strike zone. They're making the Aggies beat them. And they're letting the defense do the rest.
And that's really your prototypical brand of baseball that the Cardinals are trying to get back to after the rough stretch in conference play.
It's only their second walk. And now here is Gentile, so at minimum this does get the top of the lineup up at the latest in the next inning, but Aggies again with 2 outs trying to spark something. Moore has been heavy with that heater, and the Aggies have not, for the most part, been able to catch up. A bullet right at Sasaki. And that will retire the side. Another ball that the Aggies square up, but not tonight against this Stanford defense. They're either positioned well or they make an outstanding play. It is time to stretch at Sunken Diamond. 4-0 Cardinal. Stanford 4, UC Davis nothing. Here at Klein Field. It's become a pretty annual tradition, although they did not match up last year. UC Davis and Stanford. Tyler Wood will deliver. He's been good. He has kept the Aggies at least at arm's length and not let this deficit get any bigger. Just the 4 runs all coming in the first 2 innings on 3 hits, 2 of which left the park for Stanford. Charlie Somm, the catcher, leads off and looks at a slider for strike 1. Wood, 4 shutout, hitless innings. Just the 2 walks allowed so far. And these 2 teams, as we said in the open, they have matched up a lot over the years. That is blistered foul on a hanging slider. That Somm was all over, but out in front of. But even more of a connection now between these 2 schools because of the relationships between guys like Sky Valenzuela, who is an assistant coach on the Aggies, and of course the head man Tommy Nicholson. Strike 3 call. He got that one to scrape the top of the zone. And Somm is 0 for 3. And now Tatum Marsh.
And that's only the 2nd strikeout recorded by Tyler Wood. He has not been getting a whole lot of swing and miss. That one a looking strike 3, but still has been very, very effective so far.
Up the middle, diving stop, Ryan Lee, can he do it again? Yes! Another outstanding play by the South Bay kid, Ryan Lee. I'm sure a lot of family in the crowd tonight, and a 1 hot seed and a nice dig by Hirschkorn.
Lee robbing Tatum Marsh, there's a better chance than none that they played against each other in high school. Marsh, of course, going to Valley Christian High School down in San Jose. Lee out of St. Francis. I wonder if that's happened any other time in the 2 of their careers.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much Ryan Lee played middle infield, but wherever he played, I'm wondering if he's robbed him before. And you can bet whether it be club or high school, those 2 have matched up before. That's a couple terrific diving plays, and then Hirschkorn on the other end. This one a little more routine, and that'll end the inning. Ryan Lee showing off for some friends and family tonight. 3 up, 3 down. Wood with 5 hitless innings out of the bullpen for UC Davis. But Stanford still leads 4-0. We head to the 8th.
Back for the top of the 8th inning, Stanford makes another move to the bullpen. Another right-hander, it's Torin O'Haron. In his junior year out of Rockland, California. He's another guy who, much like his predecessor, Trevor Moore, we'll get to his line in a second, O'Haron has fallen on some rough times in his most recent appearances. Some shortened stints. He's a guy who, again, teammates with Charlie Salmon, Trevor Moore on the summer ball circuit, stepping into a higher leverage role, and he's been in that position for the Cardinal. He could give them the final 6 outs if called upon. Just trying to get back into a rhythm. Against the top of the order, not an easy task to face Murphy, Howard, and Wolbert. Final line for Trevor Moore. The righty reliever goes 2 innings pitched, allowing 2 hits, a walk, striking out 3, and the shutout's still intact. He did not allow a run.
So the Rockland kid is going back up against his school that is about 30 miles southwest of his hometown, give or take. You with me, Carson?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you had to dispute. I know you're a geography buff, so.
I was gonna say the exact opposite. I'm hardly a geography
okay.
buff. In which case, I'd take your word for it.
Okay, great. That's what I like to hear, Carson. We're gonna get along well. Jackson Murphy's gonna start things off. So the Aggies only 6 outs to play with. They have stayed in the game. It was getting late early for UC Davis after the first 2 innings, but since then, they have held Stanford without a hit. Just 1 base runner, actually 2 base runners, 2 walks. That's been it since the 2nd inning. But the Bats just have not been able to get many barrels tonight against a good pitching performance by Stanford. Something they've needed. Murphy gets ahead here 3-1. Murphy's hit the ball hard. He's a guy that a lot of UC Davis coaches like because they say his exit velocities usually are among the highest on the team, but doesn't have anything to show for it tonight. And the walk. So that is just the 3rd walk of the night issued by Stanford pitching. And so Murphy gets the Aggies a base runner here in the 8th.
And O'Haron still trying to get back into a rhythm, missing arm side on his last couple of pitches. The last few outings, as we mentioned, have not been too kind to him. Saw his ERA grow up to just under 8, allowing an average of 2 base runners per inning.
So has not been able to find the release. You see the frustration. This is his 13th appearance, as Carson noted. And he gets the call there at the knees. Last year, 29 walks and 39 1/3. The walks were an issue for him. A guy that's appeared now in 54 games, most of which have been in relief. And Howard tomahawks it foul.
Yeah, O'Haron was in and out of a relief role last year, eventually settled in as one of the more high leverage arms. But he got a couple of, I believe even a Sunday start in a series against Oregon State. He's not a total stranger to getting the ball to open the game, but much more accustomed to closing them.
And as he said, I'd imagine he is going to be expected by Stanford coaching staff try to get these last 6 outs. And Howard late, but able to stay alive, sprays it foul. Now, the Aggies are a team, are a tough, they've taken tough at-bats this season, and they have not been easy to strike out, among the lowest strikeout rate in the conference. But Stanford, one of the more talented arms they're going to face this year, and Howard strikes out on what looked to be a hanger, but he swung over the top of it, and that's the first out.
Third time that Howard's gone down today. It looked like the entire at-bat he was looking to take something through that vacant hole in the right side. And that's kind of the byproduct of that. You get something to hit, and instead of really trying to get both cheeks into it, you try to shorten up, and it ends up not being a great decision as exhibited there.
Here's Wolbert. I don't think O'Hare, and he's still not feeling great with his release. He was still shaking his head after that strikeout against Howard. Always nice to work out anything you have going on with outs. Howard or Wolbert late there on a fastball. He's just not been able to time up some of these heaters by Stanford pitchers tonight.
Yeah, O'Haren's always been a guy with the real live arm. Fastball up in the mid-90s.
And for a team like UC Davis, I mean, the Santa Barbara series notwithstanding, because they played against some pitchers that are going to get drafted coming up in a few months. But in general, they don't see this type of velo throughout the year. 2-2. Doesn't mean they are not capable of hitting it, though. You can see O'Hare, and he has not been able to consistently get in the strike zone yet. I'm not sure he's feel comfortable with anything other than his fastball right now. Skied into left. McDonald is there. And they're 2 down.
Yeah, that may be a routine play in the box score, but that is not an easy play for McDonald. Back in the outfield after missing plenty of time with an injury. That's a ball that if it's hit high enough, it can just flat out disappear above the floodlights.
Yeah, this is only his 9th start of the year, as Carson said, after an injury to start the season. And again, when you have the stuff that this right-hander has, sometimes you don't always need your best release point. So now Williams has walked and singled tonight. Shaves the outside corner, 1-1.
Williams was one of a couple of hitters back in that 6th inning to shorten up and just lace something through the 3-4 hole. Gets another one on the outside. Let's see if he tries to do the same.
That did not have to be called a strike, but he gets the borderline pitch, and it's 1-2. Now Williams has to battle with Murphy still away from first, 2-2.
Already 20 pitches thrown by O'Hare in this inning. Started off with a walk, a couple of long at-bats, and Davis a chance to draw things out.
Again, the Aggies have not been able to catch up to this heat. He is throwing gas. And it looks like here to Williams, he's been able to get a little more command of that fastball. And these are big innings for guys like O'Hare. Right field. This ball hit really well. Marsh to the wall. He's got it. Inning over. Williams sent it to the track. No problem for Tatum Marsh. And the shutout intact. We go to the bottom of the 8th. The Cardinal 3 outs away from breaking the skid.
We're back at Sunday Diamond, April 18th through the for Stanford, center fielder.
Last of the eighth, Tyler Wood has just been outstanding for the Aggies tonight, part of what's been a really productive pitching year for most of the Aggies' arms. Unfortunately, just not much offense. The Stanford pitchers have been outstanding tonight. As you get a look at our view behind home plate here at Sunken Diamond on a gorgeous night here in the Bay. Wood back to work. He has not allowed a hit still since taking over in the third. And he faces Ethan Hott.
Has not allowed a hit, but his defense has helped keep it that way 3 times. Hott robbed on a ground ball back in the 5th. A line drive caught on a dive by Woolbert in the 6th, and then a diving stop at second base by Lee in the 7th.
Hott robbed. 1-2 the count. Hott, McDonald, and then Haskins due up here in the last of the 8th. And a swing through. And Wood continues to roll. This is really encouraging for UC Davis. Tyler Wood's a guy that's gone through some ups and downs now in his sophomore campaign, but the Aggies love his stuff. And today he is shutting down a Stanford offense that I know has struggled in the last couple games, but they're still a team that's averaging over 7 runs a contest. Here's Court McDonald. Cardinal are back in their what's going to be their routine, just cross-country travel coming up. And they're on the road at the number 4 team in college baseball, Clemson, for 3 games coming up this weekend. That game on Friday, that will be nationally televised on ESPNU, and then the next 2 games will be on the ACC network. 1 ball and 2 strikes as that breaking ball gets over. And they're going to try to break up this 9-game conference skid. 2-2. And again, you see the score on Sunday. That is what's been abnormal. On Saturday, they lost 10-3. That game was tied late. And Georgia Tech just broke it open. Swing and a miss on a slider. And there are 2 down. Tyler Wood is just mowing down the Cardinal right now. Back to the top of the order. Here's Trevor Haskins. Go ahead.
And Wood has doubled his strikeout total this game. A strikeout swinging back in the 3rd, and then 2 swinging here in the 8th after 1 looking in the 7th.
Trevor Haskins digs in. I mean, he's a guy that was looking for an outing like this. And he has more than delivered on what the Aggies wanted coming in. They thought potentially this would be a game there they would have to use a number of arms, but they didn't know how many people were available because of the weekend series. I'm sure that was the same case for Stanford with such a quick turnaround. And Tyler Wood has really preserved this bullpen for tomorrow when they have to get back between the lines. They play another game tomorrow, so this is a really important outing from Wood to give the Aggie relievers some time to recover. And even, I'm sure, for Stanford, looking ahead, they want to have all hands on deck for the series at Clemson coming up. That was left up, sinking into left field, and that is the first hit that Wood has allowed. Haskins able to just get that ball to sink away from Murphy. And that's the first base hit for the Cardinals since the 2nd inning.
And it's hard to tell on that replay there, but a piece of Haskins' bat came flying off toward 3rd. So you saw him inspecting it before his first at-bat. Well, he's going to need a new one after that one. Second bat he's broken this year.
That's not what happens every day in college baseball. It sounded funny off the crack of the bat.
And that's exactly what happened.
It is a hit. Line drive in the box score. And it does cost him some metal. Here is Timo Becerra. Wood pitching out of the stretch for one of the rare times tonight. And we'll talk about this more in the ninth if we have to, but again, continue to mention the respect there is from dugout to dugout tonight. And Tommy Nicholson really credits his time here on the farm for really developing him as a coach when he was one of David Esker's top assistants. And it took a lot for this job at UC Davis to pull him away from this program when he was part of some really great teams over his time as an assistant. Tommy Nicholson, the Aggie head coach, one of the great players in Texas baseball history. Was at Stanford from 2018 to 2021. Runner goes, here's the throw, right on target, and he is out by a mile. So Haskins thrown out, Gentile with a caught stealing. And we go to the ninth. Last chance for the Aggies, Stanford, trying to get one more win before headed down south. Well, it might be a midweek game, but it's still Aiden Keenan who will try to get the final 3 outs for the Cardinal. Their closer, looking for what would not be a save, but he's picked up 4 of them this year. And Keenan, who has been just lights out on the back end of the Cardinal bullpen, takes over. And another great relief outing for the Cardinal tonight.
Yeah, Aiden Keenan coming in. Taran O'Hare in an inning with just a strikeout and a walk allowed. And Keenan's a guy who, if you look at his earned run average at .324, he had allowed 1 earned run all season heading into the series against Virginia. There were a couple of unfriendly bounces and rulings from errors changed to hits that sort of inflated his average a little bit. And that's, he's been outstanding nonetheless.
Sasaki giving chase. This is going to land on top of the Stanford dugout. Nice catch by a fan on a hop. There he is.
Oh, he gets his own replay and everything.
Let's take a look at the positioning. Barehanded. Way to go. Running catch, too. Ranging to his left.
Right in the basket.
Breaking ball, strike 2.
And that right there is Keenan's calling card. That big breaking ball. That fastball up in the mid-90s, but it's the breaking ball that sets him apart.
Well, Ryan Lee's going to have to battle now. When we mentioned something's going to have to give tonight, whether it be the Aggie offense getting out of this prolonged slump or Stanford pitching being able to put up zeros, and it's been the latter. That's a beauty. Strike 3 and Lee down chasing. Aggie offense just has not been able to generate much, and the few times they've gotten guys on, Stanford defense has just made the plays. And meanwhile, for Stanford, trying to get the shutout, and they're 2 outs away, and the batter is Zach Story. We've seen a lot of that. Aggies have just been behind the fastballs of Stanford tonight. A little low. This would be the 3rd shutout of the season for Stanford. 2-1. Stanford dugout, making sure that everybody knows they thought that one hit the knees. Line into center. It's going to hang up, though, for Hott, and there are 2 down. And now it's up to Houston Hirschkorn to try to extend the game for UC Davis.
Some more loud contact, but that one hanging up long enough for Hott.
I give credit to Stanford's positioning also. Scouting reports put the defense right where it's needed to be. And even when they haven't been there, they have come up with the plays for a Stanford team that's looking to go on a hot streak. And this would be a start. A team that brings back almost their entire team from a year ago. Trying to recapture some of that magic they had in the first 9 games of the season, even further than that, to start conference play. 1-1. Jets went over, and now the Aggies are down to their last strike. And Keenan just doing what he does. That breaking ball is just snapping over the plate and putting it wherever he wants it. Houston Hirschkorn trying to fight down 1-2. And that is a great take. I was swinging at that from the press box.
Yeah, Hirschkorn, great eyeball at that low breaking ball. He saw that gesture out back to Keenan from Somm. That's exactly where he wanted that pitch located.
And again, just stays alive. Hirschkorn, big, intimidating presence in the box. One of a pair of twins on this UC Davis team in their first season. His brother Holden in the dugout as well. 2-2. Foul back.
He's gotten a couple of well-timed swings off with that fastball, as good as we've seen tonight. Would not be surprised to see Keenan go back to that breaker.
We'll do it again.
Fighting off the low breaking ball there, too.
Well, for a guy like Hirschkorn that just doesn't have many Division I at-bats under his belt, these are so key. These moments are so valuable for the freshman out of Kingsburg, California. Former football player at Kingsburg High, you can tell just by looking at him. And we'll try to keep this game alive again. Struck him out. That's your ball game. What else is new? Aiden Keenan does it again. And Stanford locks down the shutout, one they needed, back in the win column. And they get a much-needed win before they head on the road to Death Valley, and one of the toughest places to play in college baseball. But first, they're going to celebrate this win. A 4-0 shutout win. All the runs came in the first 2 innings. 3 hits in the first 8 innings of the night for Stanford, but 2 of them left the yard, and that was the difference in the game. 4-0 shutout win, and Carson, for Stanford, look, it's a midweek game. Obviously, these are different than the weekend games, but still, for Stanford, a team that we know is trying to find themselves in conference play, these are a little more valuable for when they're having stretches like this, and to be able to get a win tonight, albeit against a mid-major team like UC Davis, still big.
Yeah, and they have a chance, again, to take some momentum heading into the weekend. They're playing a Clemson team on the road, and it all starts with capitalizing on some momentum at home. Nice plays on defense. Tatum Marsh saw that catch, and now you get to see the throw. 1 hop to the plate. Close play, went to review, but ultimately he's credited with the outfield assist. And one of the reasons why this shutout remained intact. Today, UC Davis only got 3 runners into scoring position, or 4 runners into scoring position. And of course, none of them scored. Largely in credit to that bullpen. Trevor Moore, Turner Heron throwing very well. Aiden Keenan slamming the door. But Stanford pitching, they needed the outing more than ever. 4 pitchers used. Nick Dugan gave them some length, and he's credited with the win.
Third shutout of the season for the Cardinal. Dugan goes to 3-0, and the loss goes to Wooldridge. He falls to 0-1. Home runs in this game for the Cardinal, Nadi and Lavin. And for Lavin, it's his first of his career, and Nadi's 8th of the season. All right, thanks to our entire crew here on the ACC Network Extra here at Stanford. For Carson Trail, I'm Greg Wong. Thanks to Kirsten Floyd and the rest of our crew as well for all their hard work today. Our final, Stanford 4, UC Davis, nothing. We'll see you next time. Good night, everyone.